Hi, and welcome to my sewing room. My name's Leah, and today I'm going to show you how to sew up this cute little baby chevron quilt. Using only 3 fabrics and some strip tubes, it sews together really fast. And at the end, I'll show you the quilt done in some other colorways. So let's jump right in. First, let's go over the fabric you'll need. I started with 1 yard of a main print. This is what you'll see the most of. Next is the fabric for the skinny chevron, outer border, and binding. I pulled a blender that has one of the darker colors from the main print. You also need 1 yard for this one. Finally, you need a background print. You'll need 1 1/4 yard of this print. You can use a solid or a low volume print. Just make sure that the design is not so busy or too bold in some spots that it distracts from the main print. You want it to appear somewhat solid from a distance. Once you pick your 3 fabrics, it's on to cutting. The first round of cutting is pretty simple for this quilt. It's all straight strips for all the fabrics. From the main print, cut 6 5.5-inch strips. These will make the big chevron. From the blender print, cut 6 1.5-inch strips for the skinnier chevron and 5 2.5-inch strips for the outer border, and 5 2.25-inch strips for the binding. From the background, cut 12 2.5-inch strips for the chevrons and 5 2-inch strips for the inner border. With all the strips cut out, it's on to the first round of sewing. For this round, we're going to make 6 strip sets from the background and blender strips. To do that, sew a 1.5-inch blender strip to the long edge of one of the 2.5-inch background prints. Press that to the blender print and then add another 2.5-inch strip to the other side of the blender print. 2 background prints will flank one 1.5-inch blender print. Press that to the blender print as well. After pressing, make sure your strip measures 5.5 inches wide. If it's off, double check your seam allowances and the cut size of your starter strips to make sure they are not off just by a bit, and make adjustments as needed. Make 2 more strip sets pressing the same direction for a total of 3 strips. These will be called A strips. Make 3 more strips sewing the exact same way, but when pressing, press toward the background print instead. These will be called B strips. By pressing 3 strips toward the darker fabric and 3 toward the background, the seams will nest nicely together when creating rows. For the second round of sewing, take 1 5.5-inch strip of main fabric and place it on top of one of the strip sets, right sides, or pretty sides, together. Sew a 1/4 inch seam down both the long edges of the strip. This will create a tube. Do this for all 6 strips. Keep all the A tubes in one pile and all the B tubes in another pile. Once all the tubes are sewn, it's time for the second round of cutting. Take the A strips to the cutting board and line the bottom of the strip with the lines on the cutting mat. Grab any ruler that has a 45-degree line. It can be a square, rectangle, or a triangle. Just make sure it's big enough that when it's turned, it covers the whole strip for cutting. Then line up the 45-degree line on the ruler with the bottom of the strip. Slide it over till the right side of the ruler is past the selvage and cut off the edge of the angle. This creates the first angled side to help cut the rest. Slide the ruler down and over till the tip of the ruler meets the bottom of the seam line at the top and the right edge of the ruler is lined up with the newly 45-degree cut. Make sure the 45-degree line on the ruler is parallel with the bottom of the strip set and the lines on the mat. Take a piece of washi tape or painter's tape and place it on the ruler right under the seam allowance at the bottom of the strip. That will give a new 45-degree line on the ruler to help cut all the triangles from the strip. Or if you have one, you can use a strip tube ruler or other specialty ruler that already has lines made for cutting 45-degree angles from strips. These triangles will open up to 7-inch squares, so line up any specialty rulers accordingly to cut 6.5-inch finished squares or 7-inch unfinished squares. I was given a Wonder Cut ruler years ago as a gift, and it does have a line for 6.5-inch finished, but when I line it up at the bottom of my strip set, the ruler doesn't cover the whole strip. Plus it's long and hangs off the table a bit, and I didn't want to bump into it, so I used my bigger square ruler. Once the ruler is lined up with a tip under the top seam allowance, the edge of the 45-degree cut on the side, and the bottom along the seam allowance, cut the other side of the strip to make a triangle. Open up the triangle to get the first unit. It will look like a half-square triangle with some extra piecing on one side. To help me know which way to orientate my ruler when cutting, I put another piece of washi tape on the top side of my ruler. That way, when I rotated it back and forth, I could remember which side I needed to put my line on the fabric. You can really use any specialty ruler that has a 45-degree line. I also used this companion angle when I cut out one of my other versions. Now this one has a blunt top, so when I cut my first edge, that's okay. But I didn't want a blunt edge on the top because that would mess up all the sizes of my blocks. So all I did was line up the bottom edge of my ruler with the bottom edge of my strip, slid the ruler over until the edge of the ruler lined up with that top seam on the top of the strip, and then I cut it. So there's more than one way to cut these strips. You can use the specialty rulers, you can use your regular square rulers with a 45°, or you can use any other triangle ruler that has the same angle that you need for your strips. Then cut the rest of the strip tubes. You should be able to get 7 half-square triangles from each strip. Keep all the A triangles in one pile and the B's in another. Press the A triangles open to the main fabric and the B units to the background fabric. Again, this will help with nesting seams. These units have biased edges, so be careful not to press them into a wonky shape when ironing. Open the unit and press the iron down on the seam. Don't move it back and forth, as that could distort the block. You can also add some starch at this point to keep them nice and square. Once all the units are pressed and sorted in piles, it's time to start sewing them together in pairs. There's no need to take them to the design wall at this stage. They can be laid out in 2 piles for chain piecing. This is where those pressed seams are going to come into play. There are 2 different units to make, 12 with the main print creating a peak or a mountain, and 9 with the background and skinny strip making a peak. I already sewed a few. The left side are the A units, and the right side are the B units. I need 8 more A units to make 12, so I counted out 8 blocks and put them on top of my pile on the left. I already had a B unit sewn as well, so I had 8 A blocks left, and I rotated those and put them on the right side of the B unit. Next, I put the B blocks next to the A blocks, counting the right amount for each pile, then rotating them to line up in the unit. When they are organized in piles like this, I can take this stack to the sewing machine and sew it together, and then take this stack to the sewing machine and sew it together. Because I pressed the A and B opposite directions, the seams will line up nicely. Again, these are on the bias. When giving even a gentle tug, you can see them stretch. So make sure not to pull or tug on these as they go through the machine. Just let the machine take it. Sew one pair after the other, chain piecing till the whole pile is sewn. Here's a close-up of how nicely these seams butt up next to each other because they were pressed in opposite directions. You can pin these if you like, but when the seams butt up this nice, I don't usually pin. Once the peak units are sewn, it's time to start making rows. Each row has 3 of the same peak units, either 3 A units or 3 B units. At this stage, I like to lay everything out to make sure the peaks and valleys go in the right direction. I started with an A unit. I placed 3 right next to each other, all facing the same way. The second row starts with unit B, or the background peaks. That row also gets 3 B units, all facing the same way. Repeat row 1 and 2 till there are 7 rows, ending with a row of 3 A units. I like to press these open as some of the seams can get bulky, but if you don't want to press the seams open, press the odd rows one direction and all the even rows the other direction. That will leave you butted seams when sewing the rows together. Once all the rows are made, it's time to start sewing the rows to each other. This is where things are going to stop matching up. Looking at them lined up on the design wall before you sew them, you can see where the 1/4" seam allowance is going to be. And if you go across, these skinny strips are already lining up visually before I have even sewn them. So that means they will not look like this once I put in that 1/4" seam allowance. But that's okay. That's how I planned it. Lining up 45° angles is sometimes a tough job that requires careful measuring and pinning to get everything to line up nicely. And I wanted this to be a quick quilt. So I cut this out knowing the skinny chevrons will be slightly off from each other, but they should be all off about the same, so it will still have a uniform look. Here's a close-up of where those skinny chevrons meet up in the 1/4" seam allowance. I didn't pin those. I was going to let those sew up wherever they landed. The only part I pinned was where the square blocks joined. I pulled the fabric down just a bit to make sure the seam lines are right on top of each other, and I put a pin in it. I pinned all the way down and then took it to the sewing machine. I sewed carefully again, trying not to pull the fabric as I was still working with bias edges. With the inner top sewn together, it was time to add borders. I took a ruler and measured most of the squares. In this case, they were all coming out right around 6.5 inches. That meant I could multiply the number of blocks in my rows by 6.5 and get the length of my borders. If your blocks are coming out a little off, you can get the length of the border by measuring the quilt in 3 places, usually both ends and then the middle, and take the average of the 3 lengths. I started by adding the top borders so I could use 1 strip of white for the top and the bottom. Then I added the side borders. I did the outer border the same as the inner border. Once both borders were on, I was ready to make the back. The width of the quilt is 46.5 inches, which is a couple inches too big for the width of regular fabric. So I pulled out a light pink print for the back. When I rolled it out, I had just enough to cut a strip off to sew onto the side to make it wide enough. So I didn't do my strippy border for this one. Instead, I have a solid pink back with just a couple seams. I decided to do a wee bit of custom quilting on this one. Chevrons are fun to practice with different quilting designs, as each chevron can have a different design in it. I did some ribbon candy in the white, a wavy line in the skinny chevron, and some feathery stuff in the main print. The borders got wavy lines as well, and then it was off to binding. It's been a while since I've done some ribbon candy, so I was a little rusty, and I wasn't quite sure what to do when I got to the points. So I just improvised it a little, and some look a little more wonky than others, but it's okay. I still like how it turned out. Now that I've gone through the construction of the main quilt, let's look at it done in some other colorways. Since I did one in a pinkish hue, I decided to try one in blue. I had a fun frog print where the motifs were small enough that I could still see a lot of them when I cut them up. For the blender print, I pulled a dark turquoise that matched the dark color under the lily pads. And I stuck with the white background for this one. Next, I decided to invert the colors and I went with the Halloween theme. I used black for the background and an orange for the blender print. The big chevron stayed the medium color, and I had a fun ghostly print with a gray background. The pumpkins in the print were a perfect match for the skinny chevron. Last, I decided to try a neutral print for the background instead of a solid one that wasn't too overpowering. I had this white with pastel circles and stars, and they blended great with this bright Easter print. This Easter print has been on the shelf for years, so it was fun to finally cut into it and turn it into a quilt top. I pulled a dark purple to go with the purples in the egg fabric, but I could have easily gone with a dark pink or even a dark blue. I think all three turned out great, and it's fun to see how the different colors give each quilt a different look. Which one's your favorite color combo? Or which other color combos would you try? Let me know in the comments below. It's fun to hear your ideas. And that's it, my cute baby chevron quilt done in several different colorways. I hope this gave you a fun way to create something special, either for your own little one or as a gift. And don't be afraid to play around with color combos and make it your own. That's one of the best parts of quilting. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy sewing.